So we have been, these past few weeks, joyfully having Joan Sutherland, a teacher in the Aiken Roshi's lineage and the Pacific Zen Institute lineage that she co-founded, a co-lineage, a koan lineage. In her book, Through Forests of Every Color, Awakening with Koans. Her approach is a little different than the Soto Zen tradition. Koans are our family stories, but they're not our primary mode of practice. And so it's fun. It's fun. I'm enjoying calling on her, reading her, bringing her forward, because she knows things through a lifetime of focusing on koans as her primary practice. And I wanted to share, must be on about section 3 right now, and then next week, yes, part 3, and next week, part 4, will conclude our time with this, and then the Sangha will be moving into hidden lamp koans, which we've done in the past, and there's never any end to it. And I will be posting, publishing in the newsletter. We now publish. We're very professional. Two people will be taking koans each week and bringing them forward, so I think it will be fun. But for right now, Joan Sutherland. We'll begin with, she calls it invitation. Here's a koan for you. What a surprise. One day, a poet was visiting his Chan, his Zen teacher, who quoted Confucius. Because, of course, Zen came from India into China, and it was the Taoist and the Confucius, the Tao tradition that it arose from and sat in. Do you think I'm keeping a secret from all of you? I'm keeping nothing secret from you. It's just the same with the great matter of Chan. Do you understand? I'm keeping nothing secret from you. Neither was Suzuki Roshi, neither is Dogen. I don't understand. Later, as it grew dark, they were walking in the mountains, and the air was thick with the fragrance of sweet olive blossoms. The teacher asked, "Do you smell that?" "I do." "I'm keeping no secrets from you. Go out and smell the scent of the plum blossoms and of the moist earth. Hear the bird call. Nobody's keeping any secrets from you." She says, broadly speaking, koan invitations come in the form of mysteries and dilemmas. Mysteries catch our soul with beauty or strangeness, or the feeling of something intriguing but just out of reach. The smell of sweet olive blossoms. Well, what does that mean? Mystery koans can be different for each one of us. But if any one of the koans and the mystery and the wonder and the beauty of the world stops you, and you pause for a moment to wonder, the wondering is the invitation. Wondering. Who do you become in the light of the koan? So I'm going to reiterate what I said on Tuesday. There are traditional koans. She's bringing forward traditional koans. And life, and your particular life, is a koan. It's everywhere. Can you bring wonder to it? to the invitation of this life, whatever it brings you to wake up. What do you become in the light of this koan, this living koan? How is the day different because of its presence? How does a plum blossom stop you in your tracks and change and turn your entire life? What don't you understand, and how might that not understanding, if held lightly, open into something very old and very spacious? Usually there's some housekeeping that needs attending to as we're beckoned into mystery. We all have habits and reactions that constrict us. No. Which is what the dilemma koans are for. They present seemingly insoluble problems. I would say, which is what this dilemma life is for. If you're not coming up against seemingly insolvable problems in the world, I think you're not wondering enough. They present seemingly insolvable problems and ask you to solve them anyway. Often they create a tension that can only be resolved by not picking a side. By not picking a side when faced with an apparent duality. I was in a small group last night with someone who said, I think he sort of said, if I was paraphrasing him, I know this person really, really well, and he's prone to depression. He said that he was feeling a little depressed because he was losing his way, because what he had always been able to do was to make things black or white before. And he didn't quite know who he was or where he was anymore. I really tried not to laugh. No, excuse me. I know him well enough that we laughed together. You find a third thing. Something new arises. The perspective that includes and predates the two options that are presented. Takes practice. Over and over. We all have our opinions. We all have our likes and dislikes. Study them with kindness, but study them. Okay. Here's a koan, another one. Hui Ning asks, quickly, don't think about it. Without thinking right or wrong, before your parents were born, what is your original face? That's a classic old koan. Quickly, without thinking right or wrong, before your parents were born, what is your original face? Original face. I was thinking about it this morning. And I was thinking, original face, but it's also just because we know that I like the focus on bodies, is what was your body before you were born? It's kind of a similar question, but different. But it turns it and opens it in a way that made me wonder, what is your original body before you are born into this particular incarnation? Original face, original body shows you how to abide nowhere, with instructions that are both succinct and comprehensive. Quickly, without thinking right or wrong, before the engines of thought and feeling start revving, before you're making judgments or starting to act out of some motivation like trying to win or please. Trying to win or please? She's giving some clues here. Before your parents were born, before the whole mad story of you heaves into the picture, complete with the family legacies handed down through the generations. We've all got them. Often, therapy is really helpful to look more deeply. But if you think that's all that's going on, please just keep looking. What is your original face? What is your original body? Before all that, who are you? What is your face like? What is your body? That is before and includes this body and all bodies. The koan gate invites you to step back into abiding nowhere, the backward step. That's what we practice in Zazen. Step back. Here. Just this. That is to return to the vastness where you're a true person of no rank. I love that phrase. What is a true person of no rank? The minute you start comparing yourself to somebody else or thinking somebody's ahead of you or behind you or knows something that you don't know, I mean, all that may be true on one level, but what is a true person of no rank is a really, really important practice question. No rank or position, your face aglow with the original rising sun, your body illumined with the light of everything. What is it like to respond from that place? What is it like to step back through the gate into the koan, into the moment, and let your abiding nowhere heart mind appear and arise? To gaze with your original face on the original faces all around you. She's good, huh? Okay, so now there's always these things that it's like, I always think, I want to tell you, I want to teach about this because it's something that's turned in me my whole life and still does, and then I never quite know how to do it or where to do it, but then she talks about it and I think, oh, we can do it here. At least we can open the gate. The three bodies. Buddhism talks about the three bodies. The Tibetans are the Tibetans are much more explicit. It's more part of their practice, and I appreciate it. In Zen, it's this body that is the three bodies and all bodies. But here's another koan. A student asked Dongshuan, among the three bodies of the Buddha, what body doesn't degenerate into levels? Among the three bodies of the Buddha, what body doesn't degenerate into levels? Like, what level am I on now? Which body is this? Who's got it? Who doesn't have it? And Dongshuan said, I am always intimate with it. What is it? What is this body that we are always intimate with? The body, the backward step. Zazen body. Or we know it through Zazen. Okay, so here's a little explanation of the three bodies. I'm going to do a little riff on it, but I'll use her as a ground. There's a beautiful Mahayana thought that everything has three bodies. The first is the Nirmanakaya, the body of form in a world of cause and effect. The body that likes eating peaches, has lots of opinions, and gets bruised in car accidents. So it's the body of Shakyamuni Buddha. I mean, it's beautiful in the teachings is that Shakyamuni Buddha, the Buddha of this lifetime, had a body just like you and me, and understood suffering and sickness, aging and death, and went on a quest to realize, to answer his deepest question of what is my face, my original body, who am I really? One. Then there's the Dharmakaya, the body of the vastness of the Tao. It's sometimes called the true body, but that makes it sound as if the other bodies aren't true and they are. It's that aspect of everything is eternal and perfect just as it is. The Dharmakaya is the body of emptiness. The Dharmakaya is the body of formlessness. I love the Dharma. Actually, I love all three of these bodies. And if you really investigate them deeply, we do know them. I mean, we taste them. Okay, and then there's a second. There's one in between, the first and the third, and now the second. And this one is the one that's always been more of a mystery to me. Not that the others aren't. Is the Sambhogakaya, and here she calls it the dream body, because it's that liminal space where things have emerged from the vastness but aren't yet fixed in form. I might also call it the imaginal body. And I think Tibetan tradition, that because there are so many, I mean, we have the bodies of the bodhisattvas, and we call out to them, but we don't do it as in the Tibetan tradition. You meditate on these Sambhogakaya bodies, these dream bodies, these bodhisattva bodies that are liminal. And you actually meditate on them, and then they merge into you, and you merge into them. So there's a lot of really explicit work in that in-between realm that is always really interested me. The hand of the dream body, as she calls it, can hear and taste the world as well as touch it. It's where dreams, myths, bodhisattvas, meditation visions, and inspirations for art are found. The three are simultaneous. Each has an aspect of the whole. A rock is made of the elements of this planet, solid and warm in the sun and slowly eroding. Its memory is long, fragrant with the shared dreaming of lichen and rain. And it has always been there, radiating the light of the universe. A full koan response, a full life response, will include all three bodies, though sometimes one will step into the foreground while the other two remain in the background. A full response is rooted in your life and leads you to an epiphany you can apply in your life, your body of form. It's like a moment of meeting a rock, or the sound of a creek, or the sun breaking through the clouds. Completely wakes up this body, conditions just in a moment. It comes into your imagination through the field you share with what the Chinese call the 10,000 things, and imagining not from you alone, yet now completely your dream body. Maybe if you meet one rock fully and completely, it teaches you about all rocks. And suddenly you look at the cliff face, or suddenly you pick up a grain of sand. And it's exactly what it is, but something wide and open and actually full of color and light appears. And is touched by emptiness so that you clearly see the unmoving eternal nature of even the simplest things, which is the body of vastness. Everything coming and going, no coming and going, everything interconnected. Form and emptiness, no form and emptiness. It just potent silence. In your response, you'll be speaking in the voices of all three bodies simultaneously, like a chord. It seems to me that I'm not just going to focus on Nancy, but poetry. Poetry comes from these realms. It tries to give voice, or gives voice. Art. Our dreams can wake us up in this way. So one could imagine and begin to taste that living in alignment with these three realms is an enormously creative place and full of potentiality, which is what the world needs. Too much just form, it's like it's weighty and the world's a mess and yeah. Too much emptiness and it's like, yeah, well, everything's fine, just get me out of here. I'll just dwell in the light. But to live with the three and the arising of the Sambhogakaya and possibilities is, this is how we're going to find our way through the climate crisis. Oh, this is how we're going to take care of the earth. Oh, this is how we're going to take care of the person next to us. Not in the way we think. It's alive and it's creative. Thank you, John Sutherland, for letting me do that little rift. Okay, so here's the last thing I'm going to focus on. Another koan. She's kind of good because usually in our tradition, or the way I've taught it or incorporated it is you take the koan and it's from one of the traditions, and each the Mumonkan and the Book of Serenity and the Blue Cliff Records, each has a slightly different form, but there's a certain form to it and a denseness to it. It's like there's the I can't remember what it's called, but there's the presenting, and then there's the koan, and then there's a commentary, and then there's another commentary, and then there's another, and it's really fun. I mean, I love it, but you stay with one koan all the way through because it includes everything. It seems like Joan, and they did koan salons. They'd get together, and I think just sort of like swim around in koans. It's like one would spark another, and would spark another, and people would have personal insights, and so there's a way I appreciate that she just kind of keeps it rolling. So this one's, she entitles the chapter, That Other. Woozy said, Shakyamuni and Maitreya are servants of another. Tell me, who is that other? Woozy said, Shakyamuni and Maitreya are servants of another. Tell me, who is that other? What are they servants of? Who are they anyway? Shakyamuni Buddha, body of form. Shakyamuni Buddha, Buddha of this lifetime. She says in Buddhist mythology there have been many Buddhas. One of the sutras, the Buddha reveals Shakyamuni Buddha reveals he's not the only Buddha, that there have been Buddhas and always will have been Buddhas, and like 500 people get up and walk out. It's like, sorry, Buddha. that was too much. But now we know because, well, Shakyamuni Buddha said it, but I also deeply sense it's true. There have been many Buddhas, one for each of the world's eras. The historical Buddha Shakyamuni is the one for this age. Maitreya is the Buddha of the next age and is on deck in one of the heavens. These Buddhas have always been solitary, heroic figures, but perhaps this is not the time anymore for solitary, heroic figures. Has that occurred to you? It's like Thich Nhat Hanh saying, maybe the Buddha of this time is the Sangha. Perhaps we can take over the project of making the Buddha body ourselves in service to the other, a collective body. The name Maitreya is kin to words for friendship and loving kindness. Isn't that nice that the future Maitreya that's coming into incarnation right now through each one of us is the Buddha of loving kindness and friendliness? Isn't that cool? I mean, that always stops me. It's like, oh, and that was pointed to a long time ago, that's what we're doing in this era. When we meet together, it becomes possible to imagine that Maitreya is not one individual, but many in our time. Perhaps a worldwide spread of weary, brave souls, each of our generous acts revealing Maitreya being born. Each crotchery, isn't that great? When you're crotchety? Sometimes, I'm sure. Maybe? It's a great word, actually. Each crotchety, persevering person part of their vast body. This is Maitreya Buddha being born through us. All the moments of community and collaboration sparking across synapses, joining cells into membranes, knitting the cartilage of that body together. Things like that always make me want to cheer. 3 bodies, 1 body, no body, no body. And it seems to me fundamentally that what Maitreya and these teachings are pointing at is bodhisattva body activity that includes all. Because bodhisattva activity arises out of knowing that it's not what we think it is. There's nobody to save, and please save the whole world. But please keep coming back. Take the backward step over and over, and from this deep place, please, that's where Avalokiteshvara's 1,000 hands and eyes are already alive. Suzuki Roshi would say, what would he say? He would say something like, if you're only using your two hands, it's like me helping you. It's right and I'm going to correct the wrong. Or, I mean, if that's, I mean, please, we got two hands, use them well. It's wonderful we have two hands and thumbs and everything else. But if that's all you think you are, you're going to miss the other 998,000 arms of Avalokiteshvara that are already here. We just step back into it. And then maybe Subhana's one of her 1,000 hands and eyes is in motion, and warm hand to warm hand, something happens, and then my 1,000 hands and arms and eyes are in motion, and somehow Gretchen over there, and it's how it happens when someone alive in the moment walks into the crowd, or sits in the room, or breathes with the TV set, or cries with a loss, or celebrates the wonder of a sweet plum blossom. Okay, so here's, you can talk about any of this. My question is,